I would like our Ebrahim Rasool, a very distinguished brother of South Africa, to now take the podium and give us his few words. Shukran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله صدق الله العظيم. My revered brother Hafid Abu Bakr and all the ulama who are present here today, including my dear friend from Fulani, Imam Munir, my dear brothers and sisters who have come a long way with me in the struggle for freedom and then in the transition from apartheid to democracy, who have walked long distances for this path that we are on. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I want to apologize for the way I look. I came here for a reunion with Hafid Abu Bakr and I end up speaking to you. So I'm dressed for a reunion and not for an address to you. But be that as it may, I'm told one of the themes you spoke about this morning is that it's not how you look, it's who you are. So inshallah, take me for who I am. I want to say that the ayah that I've quoted from the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that this is the best of ummahs, elevated, raised for the benefit of humanity. We enjoin what is right, we forbid what is wrong, and we believe in Allah. The second part of it constitutes both the condition for being the best, and it constitutes the obligation of being the best. You can't be the best unless you forbid what is right. You enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong, and you believe in Allah. And you can't remain the best unless you continue to do that. And to be able to continue to do that, it requires of us to be a reflective ummah. I was saying to a group of brothers in the reunion meeting with Hafid Abu Bakr that it was in 1990, after February, when Nelson Mandela was released from prison and he met with the Muslim leadership. And he predicted that South Africa would be free in the next 5 years. And he said to the Muslim leadership, "Are you ready for freedom?" As a result of that challenge, a few of us convened at UWC in Cape Town, the National Muslim Conference. For the first time, almost all ulama bodies came together, all the main political and community bodies came together, all the main mosque coordinating and madrasa coordinating committees came together, all the main humanitarian and charitable organizations came together, and the only ones who were excluded were those who excluded themselves. And we only sat for 3 days with 3 questions. Do we agree with the strategy towards freedom? By and large, will we give the liberation movement the mandate to negotiate freedom? And alhamdulillah, the majority said yes. The second question, what would we want to place that would be permanent in the new constitution and the Bill of Rights? And for that reason, South Africa is one of the most outstanding constitutions anywhere in the world, and the only Bill of Rights, whether of Muslim countries or of non-Muslim countries, that declares that all religions shall be equal, and the only constitution that makes freedom of speech the 7th value and not the 1st, but makes equality and dignity and freedom of belief, three of the first four values of our constitution, and that is why we enjoy what we enjoy, and other societies who overvalue freedom of speech and association and expression find themselves in deep trouble today. Just like societies who don't value freedom of speech, expression and association find themselves in deep trouble today. And the third question, if we could make a few transitional institutional changes, what would they be? And so, for example, the provision for the recognition of our marriages, the provision of halal abattoirs in municipalities, and time off for Jumu'ah, days off for Eid, and all of those kind of things. That was the moment in late 1990 that the Muslim leadership came together to win those important things that have made Islam not an aberration on South African society, but integral to South African society. Sometimes I am experiencing with them the dangers of a Trump presidency as well as the dangers of any other presidency. I have seen the urge sometimes towards extremism by young Muslims, and I've seen the devastating effect of Islamophobia that is even institutionalized against Muslims in a place like the United States of America. And every day that I am there, I say, Ya Allah, thank you very much for creating out of South Africa a beacon. Because all of them look to us and one day wish that they will attain the status that we have attained. And so, whatever problems we have, we must always understand that we may even be the most comfortable, free Muslim community, whether majority or whether minority. Because we would almost assume that our majority communities enjoy what we enjoy, but they don't enjoy this. They may be praying, they may be fasting, but do they have the freedom to oppose their governments? Do they have the freedom to write letters to the editors and say, Mr. Editor, I don't agree with the president of the country? They don't. The next night will be in a jail cell. This is what we have. But, as I said, the ayah, to be the best of peoples, the best ummah, we must continue to work at our definition of what it means to be right, what is the wrong, and what it means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because really, if we look at the events of the last month, the bombings that have taken place, the massacre in Nice, the attempted coup overnight in Turkey, if we look at that, we are a glowing component of a very troubled ummah. And therefore we cannot just exist for ourselves. Your problem is important to you, but you need to be a light for the ummah, and therefore a light for the world. Our community divisions may be critical for us, but we need to maintain an optimism so that we can remain a beacon, calling the rest of the ummah to a wonderful place where we are comfortable with ourselves, and we are comfortable with our neighbors, and our neighbors are comfortable with us and don't see us as a threat. But what it requires, my dear brothers and sisters, is to say that the National Muslim Conference that we convened 25 years ago, or 26 years ago, needs to be refreshed. To use the language of young people, the app needs to be upgraded. And therefore, the initiative by the House of Ummah is a very important initiative, because I fear that we may run out of steam. That what we did 25 years ago was important to navigate the transition, the change from apartheid to democracy, but what we need urgently today is a gathering of a representative Muslim leadership, institutional leadership, in order to say, now, what is the vision for the next 200 years? We need to answer the difficult question about what has made Islam resilient for 350 years and what will make it resilient for the next 200 years, inshallah. We must answer the question like our early Muslim ancestors answered the question about who is a Muslim. And they were able to integrate the slaves from Southeast Asia, the slaves from South India, the slaves from Africa, the indentured laborers from India, and make it a dynamic community despite the variety we have in it, and to say these are all Muslims and this is the way in which we will live our Islam. And everyone had a chance to add to it without subtracting from the essence of Islam. And so I would say that we are poised for a further set of transitions. And Hafid Abu Bakr spoke about our relationship with our emerging Muslim community, our indigenous Muslim community, our African Muslim community in South Africa. And I would think that the transition we require, and I say this with all humility, and I'll be going back to the United States for a few months, so you can dislike me for saying it, but the fact of the matter is that we need to make a transition from the paradigm of patronage to the paradigm of full and equal inclusion. Because we are a comfortable community when we give food, when we build a mosque, when we give some sadaqah. But we are not as comfortable when we have to share the definition of living Islam in South Africa and to say, be part of us. Because it was our great honor, the slaves from Indonesia and the indentured laborers and merchants from India, to be blessed, and it will never be taken away from us, to be blessed to plant the seeds of a resilient and enduring and deep and powerful Islam. But that has not given us the eternal ownership over the direction of Islam. It belongs to everyone who says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we must ensure that we value, and this is my greatest anxiety, that we must value the indigenous sometimes above the exotic. We have become a community, when I listen to the radio and I go to some masajid, that values the exotic. The mufti who comes from there, the great qari who comes from there, and alhamdulillah, they are the adornments of it, but it cannot be at the expense of valuing, appreciating, and being grateful for the indigenous emergence of Islam from the townships and from the slums and from the difficult areas of our country. This is what makes Islam difficult in the United States, because they have built roots with the globe, but they've not even built roots with the descendants of the African American slaves who may have had variations in their Islam, but have remained Muslim despite it. And so as the adhan goes off, I want to say to you, inshallah, that I look forward to a day when our wise leadership will say we are ready for National Muslim Conference 2 or the National Muslim Summit to bring together this discussion so that we can be able to look forward and to say, let us create the vision for the next 200 years. Let us create the strategy towards that vision. Let us lay the foundations of the institutions that will carry us forward. Let us ensure that we immunize our community against the bad that may come from different parts of the world, the anger and the passions that are well-founded but often badly expressed in this world. And let us make sure, inshallah, that when our children look back, they will say that we have seen the most wonderful demographic change. We are no longer dealing simply with Malay Islam, although all the beauty of that Islam is still with us. We are no longer dealing with the intensity of Indian Islam, although that intensity may still be with us. We are now dealing with an organic, indigenous Islam that have grown from the soil of the southern part of Africa. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.